One airline is raising its baggage fees again. A woman's kicked off a Delta flight for not wearing a bra, and a man has been arrested and accused of molesting a 13-year-old on board the Carnival Conquest. Let's talk about it. Hey, what's going on, Adventure Fam? Hope you're doing well. Hope you're having a fantastic Tuesday. It is a beautiful Tuesday here in Glendale, Arizona. Spring is here. The flowers are blooming. It's beautiful weather. And before we jump into our Tuesday tidbits, because that's what I'm calling this, our Tuesday tidbits, we got 3 short stories here to go over with you today. Before we do, I want to invite you to subscribe, become part of the Adventure Fam. So hit that subscribe button, turn on those notifications so you know when we post, and drop a like for this video because it's going to have some good information for you. And without further ado, let's jump into story number 1, and it has to do with a Delta Airlines woman being kicked off her flight for none other than not wearing a bra. So let's jump into story number 1 for today, and it has to do with Delta Airlines and passenger Lisa Archbold. Now, this story actually took place back in January and got a little bit of media attention then. However, it's been elevated since then as Lisa has gone out and gotten legal representation, really from none other than Gloria Allred, women's rights activist, has litigated a bunch of high-profile cases. You've probably heard the name. And the story goes like this. So Lisa Archbold is in Salt Lake City, Utah. She's going to fly to San Francisco, California on board a Delta flight. Now, she does get on the actual Delta flight. She's sitting there, and all of a sudden, the gate agents come up. Don't really have a conversation with her or anything like that, but just, at least this is the accusation. I mean, just back up a little. This is kind of what her side of the story is, that they came on board and they removed her for having an offensive and basically offensive and, I guess, revealing shirt. And what she was wearing was a loose white t-shirt. I'll throw the photo up here. You can judge for yourself of what she was wearing. Loose white t-shirt, but no bra. And so they found the shirt offensive, they said, and revealing, and so they escorted her off of the plane. Now, story goes, she did get back on the plane, but she had to take the long sleeve button-up shirt she was wearing that was around her waist and put it on before they let her back on the plane. Now, for her part, Lisa Archbold is saying she felt humiliated and she felt like she was wearing a scarlet letter. I mean, it seems a little extreme to me, but I'm not going to judge. Says she was given a scarlet letter when they told her that in front of everybody, and just felt like it wasn't the right thing to do. And now her attorney is forcing Delta to say, hey, where does it say in your policy, you know, something like this is offensive? According to Lisa, she was wearing any kind of white shirt that any man on the plane would be wearing, and she even went as far as saying her chest is smaller than some of the men that were on the plane. So where does Delta draw the line? So nonetheless, Gloria Allred and Delta are trying to connect. Delta has already contacted Lisa, the passenger, to apologize, and who knows where this case is going to go. But who knows? What do you think? Should passengers be allowed to board airplanes without bras? I mean, I don't know what the rules are, but let me know your thoughts on that. Now, the second story I have for you has to do with Blue Airlines, who has just raised their baggage fees again. Now, they quietly raised their fees back in February, but as of March 22nd, they've raised and changed their baggage fee policy again. So if you are going to be flying JetBlue, we'd advise you to go to their website and make sure you understand their baggage fee policy. Now, essentially what JetBlue has gone to is a peak and off-peak pricing schedule for their baggage fees. So essentially, depending on when you're flying is going to determine what your baggage fees are going to be. So they've laid out a bunch of different dates that are going to be considered on peak. And during the on-peak days, your baggage fees are going to be $50 for the first bag and $70 for the second. Off-peak prices are going to be $45 for the first bag and $60 for the second. Now, this is only if you book your baggage fees 24 hours in advance. If you book it more than 24 hours in advance, they are actually going to give you a little bit of a cut, a little bit of a deal, $10 savings if you book it more than 24 hours in advance. So essentially, if you book your bags 24 hours before your flight, depending on when you're flying, it's either going to be $50 for the first bag and $70 for the second, or $45 for the first bag and $60 for the second bag. Now, the baggage fees are going to be even higher if you're flying transatlantic or I guess international. That's going to be $70 for the first bag and $115 for the second bag. Now, I'm not going to go into all the details of kind of what the peak times are going to be and kind of the JetBlue status that you have to have and all of these things. I'll leave a link down below in the description if you want to check out an article that explains it all. All I know is when we fly fly as a family, and we're getting ready to do this in a few months, and every time we fly, we have to pay for baggage. And when we do, right, we usually pay for 6 bags because we each have a bag. There's 6 of us. So, right, we typically spend somewhere between usually around $300, I would say, for a one-way for the baggage and 3. So we have to factor in usually around $600 to $700 for baggage fees just for us to fly somewhere as a family. Now we get a $200 airline credit from American Express from our Platinum card, which helps offset, but still, we still have to pay a substantial amount for baggage fees. So for us, it's something like this would affect us a little bit, but we just accepted it as the cost of flying. Airlines are going to nickel and dime you any way they can. Even though they make billions of dollars every year, they're going to nickel and dime any which way they can. And this is just something, if you want to travel, we know as travelers, this is just something that we're going to have to deal with. But I'll leave a link in the description below if you want to check out an article that explains all the JetBlue pricing. But just know that JetBlue, if you're flying JetBlue anytime soon, just make sure you double check the pricing structure to see kind of what your baggage fees are going to be. Now, story number 3 has to do with Carnival Cruise Lines and the Carnival Conquest. And essentially what has happened is last Friday, 44-year-old Jason LeFavour of Indianapolis was arrested by the Miami-Dade police upon the ship's arrival back to the port of Miami on accusations that he molested a 13-year-old while on board the Carnival Conquest. Now, the official charge is lewd and lascivious molestation of a child, and so let's go over some of the details, as there's not a ton of details out yet, but let's go over what we do know. So essentially what's being reported is that last Thursday, the night before the cruise returned to Port Miami, LeFavour was walking on the lower decks when he saw the 13-year-old and grabbed her left butt cheek with his hand. Now, when questioned by police, he has stated that he does not remember or recall anything because he was so intoxicated. Now, that's all we know about this case. I'm sure more details will come out in the coming days. Now, one thing to note is it has been reported multiple times that Carnival Cruise Lines actually has a higher sexual assault rate per capita than 27 of the 50 states. And so it seems to be an issue. We hope that, they obviously have a strict policy around certain behaviors and certain things, and they do handle things when they happen. We just hope that we can keep everybody safe. Hopefully, if there's more details that come out of this case, the individual held responsible to the highest extent. I don't deal with the molestation stuff, especially when it has to do with kids. I think it's sick and disgusting. So hopefully, when all the details come out, and if something were to be found that he did, he should be held to the highest standards. So those are our Tuesday tidbits for you today. Let me know your thoughts on those stories. Drop them down below. And again, if you're not part of the Adventure Fam, we invite you to subscribe and become part of the Adventure family. We love you. Thanks for the support, and we will see you guys tomorrow. Peace.